Good morning. Broadcasting a little early this morning. Tonight we will have Wednesday night services, and so for those of you who have not heard, we're going to cancel Sunday morning services for the next couple of Sundays. We've had several of our folks come down with COVID. They did not get it at church. It was at work and in some places elsewhere, but they were afraid that maybe they have exposed some folks. So we're going to take caution and simply do services virtual now through probably the 13th, past the 13th of January. So I'll let you know when we can get back and get going. I'm going to do at least 2 weeks on Sundays at home, and I will be broadcasting from here, and that way we'll still have services, do it virtually. You know, a lot of what's going on is because of what we're struggling with in the COVID and all of the other issues. The truth is, when we're dealing with this stuff, we have to remember that we're in the presence of God. One of the things that helps us remember that is over in Hebrews 13th chapter. It says this. It says, "Let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?" Having that presence of God in our lives is what's very important. Because then we know, regardless of what happens, that in his presence we are safe. There's an illustration that I read called The Presence of God in a little illustration book I'd like to share with you. Cindy Holmes is a writer and pediatric nurse in Houston, Texas. She wrote an article about a mother and a child she got to know at the hospital who were both suffering from full-blown AIDS. The child, Tyler, was born infected with HIV. From the outset, he had been dependent upon all kinds of medical treatment. Sometimes he needed supplemental oxygen. But Cindy said it didn't slow him down. He was all boy, a little dynamo. He frequently raced through the Houston neighborhood with the little backpack on that held medication he had to take. Sometimes he'd put an oxygen canister in a little red radio flyer wagon, but that didn't slow him down. Off he'd go through the neighborhood playing like children play. Cindy Holmes got to know the family and know them best when they were confined in the hospital in the last stages of their illness, when they were both dying. When it became obvious to Tyler's mother that he was probably going to die first, she decided she'd better talk with him about what was going to come next. She pulled him up into the bed, and they talked about life, love, and fun. Then she brought up the topic of heaven. She said, "You know, Tyler, I was kind of hoping that you'd do your growing up here, but the doctors say your body is telling them that you might want to move on and grow up in heaven." And she continued, "And you know, I made a decision." Tyler asked, "What's that, Mommy?" She said, "I decided that if you're going to live in heaven, I'm going to do that too. Because wherever you are, that's where I want to be." A few days later, Cindy Holmes was in Tyler's room, and she was looking up at her and said, "Miss Holmes, will you do me a favor?" Cindy said, "Sure, Tyler. What do you need?" He said, "When I die, would you put a red shirt on me?" Cindy answered, "Tyler, why do you want to do that?" Tyler explained, "Well, I'm going to grow up in heaven, and I've been told it's fun over there, and I'm going to have friends, and I'm going to play. But my mommy is going to come over there too, and she's going to be looking for me. And if I'm really busy and don't see her coming, I want to see her to see me. So it's real important I have on something she can see. So would you give me a red shirt?" Tyler looked up from the bed and continued, "You know, heaven won't be heaven without Mommy." Cindy Holmes said, "I was overwhelmed by the inexpressible sense of peace that was on his face, even at the time of inexpressible crisis. And suddenly I understood where it was coming from. His peace was the result of his mother's presence with him. through his life, throughout his illness, and her promise that no matter where he went and no matter what happened, she would still be there. Friends, that's the presence of God. That's the presence of God in our lives. And as this day goes by, we need to recognize that and be prepared for whatever might come our way. God bless you. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.